Welcome to the Real Life, Real Kitchen podcast. Real talk for curious mums reclaiming food, family and community. I'm Zoë F. Willis, English mother of many, mentor to mums. And if you're reheating your tea again, this is your place. So pop the kettle on as each week I chat with folks who feed, heal and hold our communities together. You don't need perfection to pull up a chair, just curiosity and the courage to ask, what if there's another way? This is one of my weekly mum chats, a short, honest musing or whatever's bubbling in the kitchen or on my mind. Do you fancy joining the next one live on Zoom? It's free, it's gentle, and you're so welcome. Just join the weekly kitchen correspondence mailing list. Your invite to the Zoom is in there. You'll find the link in the show notes. The tea's hot. Let's talk.
So, last mum chat of 2025, and this is, what are we now? December, not quite middle of December, 9th of December. So, not long before Christmas comes. So this is the Christmas edition, the Christmas Survival Guide edition. And I'm just going to be putting forward a few thoughts, tips, ideas to help keep Christmas itself as calm as possible, because as many of us are experiencing at the moment, it is ramping up. It is getting busier. And the pressure for us mums is certainly on, especially for those who are with the primary schools. There's a lot going on, lots of, there's Christmas fetes happening, there's nativity plays going on, there's costumes, there's, oh goodness, there's so much. I'm talking to some of the mums and it's quite, I feel quite overwhelmed just at the thought. So I'm going to break this down, I suppose, into 3, maybe 4 sections. First bit is going to be looking at maintaining your peace in the run-up to Christmas. Second bit, I'm going to be talking about presents. Third thing I'm going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about, kind of sounds a bit mad, but food and rhythms and overstimulation, because they're all connected over Christmas itself. And then the fourth one might be talking a little bit about sort of boundaries, because it can be quite a intense time for that sort of thing. So, right, run up to all things Christmas. And the simple thing is you don't have to do it all. You can say no. You can drop out of any parent WhatsApp groups. You can drop out of any email lists, parents' email lists, and just say this year, no, too much. Too much. Yeah, it kind of is that simple. Don't have to go to the school fete. Don't have to provide anything for the school fete. Because a lot of these things, certainly in the UK, are fundraisers. Just send a donation. Send them the money. And for those families, those mums who have the energy and are in a season of life that they can organise and do all of this sort of thing, let them do it. That's not your season at the moment. That's not your gift at the moment. I would also suggest paring down after school activities as well. Skip the last week. There's no need to go, dress up a child in extra tinsel or a costume for the final ballet before Christmas. You can either just send the child in their normal uniform, or just not do it. So just really simplify things. You do not have to be everywhere all at once. Things like nativity plays and costumes. I mean, hopefully by this stage of proceedings, you've probably got it organised. And so you're there already and it won't be too much of a drama, if you'll excuse the pun. So, yes, you will have those sorts of things. And quite frankly, the last day or two of term, if children are tired and exhausted and ratty, keep them home. Just keep them at home. Because at school, what are they doing the last couple of days of term? Nothing.
Dinner's burning, the washing's multiplying and someone's crying. It could even be you. If your evenings feel like survival mode, the Command the Chaos Mum Life Management Planner is your first gentle step back to calm. It's a printable 80-page guide and planner to help you reset your routines and breathe again without needing to become someone else entirely. Start your reset today. The link's in the show notes.
Because everyone's tired and ratty. It'll be videos, might be some games, might be the extra demand of a costume or two. Don't do it. If children are exhausted and you're in a position that you can keep them at home, keep them at home. Everybody rest up. It's not important. It isn't important. Whatever is happening at school, not important. You can do some extra reading at home, snuggled on the sofa, and start to just be a little bit quieter in the run up to Christmas. That's the first thing. Say no to anything you feel overwhelmed by. And even if you've been on an organising committee, if it is just too much, you just need to be honest and say, I am really struggling. Could be paring it down. Could be saying, you know, I was going to do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I can't. I'm happy to do something simpler, like sweeping up afterwards, but I can't do what I originally volunteered to do because it's too much. And that is absolutely fine. Do it. Your peace and your sanity is fine. And you are not the main pillar upon which the whole school fate or the whole parent-teacher association is depending on, because if they are, this does not sound like a very well-run organisation with lots of volunteers doing lots of things. So sometimes just need to say no. So that's me, my slightly rebellious streak. So that's the run up to the Christmas holidays. Now, in terms of Christmas itself and gifts, what I would highly recommend, which I do not do, and I fail to do every year, but I know people who do it. And these are the calmest people I know when it comes to gifts. They'll get organised in September or October. They sit down, have a couple of nights then, and do their ordering and go click, click, job done. And they've got all their gifts in September, October. So if you're that sort of person, please do that. Please do that. I, for whatever reason, I cannot get my head into that space in September, October time. And so it'll be December that I'm normally getting the gifts and having to think about all these things. I think in previous mum chats, I've talked about various love languages, and gift giving, I have to admit, is not one of mine. So I do find it a little bit of a struggle. Spending time with people, yes. But gift giving, it's a struggle. So yes, top tip, do it earlier. Also, minimize. If you have family members like extra, grandparents, aunties and uncles who are really generous with the presents, allow them to be really generous with the presents, and you can pare it down. And you could say like a book or a toy per child. The kids really don't need much, because if you're also thinking, you're going to do a stocking as well, that's a whole heap of little bits and bobs. That's a lot of, it actually does build up to become quite a few things. So pare it down. The children really don't need much. One of the things to consider. And secondly, sometimes in terms of budgeting, so that's a big help in terms of the budget, is having fewer things. Maybe it might be an idea for 1 year to have literally like one gift per child, a small gift, but then most of the money actually gets saved and is put together for more of an experience. Big day out for the family all together, maybe sort of contributing towards a slightly better holiday or something else that as a family you can all enjoy together. So that's one suggestion in terms of the presents, and trying to keep the budget in check and keep down the stimulation. Now, one of the problems that people do sometimes find is that they will get gifts from other members of the family and they just go, oh, that's not something we would normally have in our household. I don't know, maybe it's plastic, maybe it's noisy, these sorts of things, which I have to admit we struggle with a bit, with some of those the plastic tut, as we call it. I think in those instances, we just say thank you. There are times that we just say thank you. We allow the children to play with them until they get a bit bored, and then it gets put away. It can be one of these toys that can be put away and brought out on a soggy, rainy afternoon or something like that. So that's an option. Or if it is a true moral affront to you, keep it for a little bit so the children play with it, and then it gently, quietly disappears at some point to a new home. So that is another thing you can do. And again, if it's one of these, if you've got family members or friends who, for them, gift giving is an important thing, take a photo of the child playing with it. Have it for a bit so that when friends and family members come and visit, they see that it is played with and can be enjoyed like that, and then put away or sent off to pastures greener. You don't have to keep everything that people give to you. You don't have to be weighed down by what other people give. Other things to consider is maybe if you're in the sort of kind of situation, you can have conversations with friends and family and saying, these are things we actually need as a family. These are the things that would be a benefit to us. It could be maybe contributions toward extracurricular activities. Maybe it is a day out. Maybe it's something like older children, for example, magazine subscriptions, these sorts of things. And just, maybe if you're able to have those kind of conversations, then do. In some instances, it might be, do you know what, that money would be really great to go into a savings account for the children? If that's a possibility. So those are things to consider, to bring in to the conversations with family members if kind of gift giving is a bit of a struggle. Now I'm going to move on a little bit to the actual sort of Christmas time itself and the overstimulation and the sugar and all the things. I'm going to continue on the theme of gift giving. If you are going to be visiting friends and family members who do a lot of the gifts, that's like the big event, and there's all the wrapping paper and all the overstimulation and all of this. One of the things you can do is keep your family presents aside. Know that maybe some stockings, maybe something to take the edge off in the morning. Know that there's going to be a big, very exciting time later on in the day where it's all with the extended family. And maybe save your gifts to either Christmas Eve, night before, have a special family time together, or keep it for Boxing Day, the day after. The children don't have to have all their gifts at once because it almost gets too much. It's like opening, oh, what's that? Amazing. And then move on. Oh, what's that? Amazing. Move on. I know of families who do kind of extend it out like that. So it is a much more actually pleasurable time for the children. It's a much more pleasurable time for the adults because you can actually see the children are really playing with and taking in the gifts that they are given, and it's just a much more peaceful time of it when you can kind of stagger things. But if it all comes at once, it's just wild. It's just too much. So those are some thoughts on the gift giving, which I know is just such a kind of excessive part of modern Christmases, and quite far cry from the original Christmas 2,000 years ago, where it was just a mother and a father and a baby in a small barn in a stable. Quite a contrast. So those are some of the things that you can do. One of the things that we do as a family, actually, when it comes to the presents, is they all sort of get gathered up on Christmas Day. We're usually out for Christmas Day, and we'll come back, and it will be, normal bedtime, normal routine, and getting children to bed quite swiftly. When they are asleep, what my husband and I will do was actually set up all the gifts in little corners of the living room. So one child, they have all of their bits and bobs on display, so to speak, and then there's another corner, that's another child's gifts. So what that means is in the morning when they come down on Boxing Day, obviously it's a much more leisurely day because we try and keep Boxing Day as quiet and as calm as possible, is that they then go to their little corner and they can see exactly what they've got, and they don't play with it all. They'll take one thing and play with that and then come to something else later. It's oddly, you'd think it would be sort of quite overstimulating, overwhelming, having all the things there, but it's almost displayed almost like a little shop, and they can come and they can pick and really sort of savor what it is they've got, or take a book, sit quietly on the sofa. And we don't seem to have problems with sort of, oh, I want this, I want that, the bickering. They know that this section is theirs and they know that section is that person's, and it sort of seems to work. So that's quite a nice thing to do and have that continuity. So there's some thoughts on that. I'd also just like to talk about, food. As we know, a lot of sugar, a lot of excitement, all of these things. And often at Christmas as well, there will be sometimes Christmas lunch or events that, is not happening at the regular food times, and you have little children having meltdowns because there's been so much going on. I think in those instances, you sort of need a bit of a snack pack at the ready, be it some savoury nuts, some veggie sticks, hummus, really simple sandwiches. Just try and keep a little bit of a rhythm going for the children on these really exciting days. You still have these hooks. You still know that there's kind of savoury things. It doesn't matter if they don't have much of the Christmas Christmas meal, you're all together anyway. You're all together. That's the main thing. And you don't want to have a situation where you've got a child who's just been tanked up on goodness knows what. Christmas lunch isn't till 3 o'clock and they're just absolutely bouncing off the walls. There's been presents and overwhelm and haven't napped, or it's just too much. And then they have the meltdown, and then that spoils it for everyone. And then the poor child is also in disgrace. It's just terrible. Mum's not having fun because it's generally us who has to pick up the pieces. So try and keep your sort of main hooks of the day. So if they normally have lunch like 12:30, make sure there's a little snack for them at 12:30, a savoury thing at 12:30. Anything they ate at the Christmas dinner, bonus. But as long as they are calm and, just that there are moments of peace throughout the day. Maybe it is that there might be moments that you have to go and sit quietly with them on the sofa. You need to read a book to them. You just need to, or maybe a little walk outside, just something to kind of lower the excitement levels. But it just means that the memories are going to be much better for them. They're going to be much better for you. It becomes a greater time of connection. So those are some of the tips in terms of kind of surviving the relationship in all the excitement that is Christmas. Because let's be honest, Christmas, a bit like holidays for mums, is not the calmest time. It's not exactly a kind of kick back and have a couple of brandies on the sofa. It's still a busy time. And so there's just a little bit of preparation can really take the edge off what can be too overwhelming a time for small children, and then by extension for the mums. And another bonus, if they don't eat much of the Christmas dinner, you got more leftovers. You got more leftovers for the next couple of days. I'd also recommend having, for something like Boxing Day, if you haven't got a substantial amount of, if you haven't sort of got a turkey and you're catering for 30 people, and you haven't got loads of leftovers, I'd really suggest that you'd have something super family friendly. For us as a family, we know that bolognese is always a winner, that you have a super family friendly meal on Boxing Day that you can literally just quickly heat up and everyone's happy and everyone will eat it. And it just makes for a much calmer, quieter day. So yes, those are some of the tips I've got in terms of boundaries with people. I might save that. I've sort of talked a little bit about the gift giving and what's acceptable and what's not. I've got a couple of people coming, or whom I'll be talking to on the podcast, about boundaries, relationships, and keeping your peace. I think certainly at the start of this little chat about saying no to the external influences that are coming in, I think that's already going to be an important start to it. If anybody has any comments or any other questions, then please, put it down below. And but wishing you overall a very lovely and tranquil Christmas, as much as it can be, in the busyness and in the run up to it and all the excitement with all the tinsel and the fairy lights. Yes, wishing you all a very, very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again in 2026, which is incredible.
Love the podcast and want to help keep the kettle on? You can support the show. Think of it like buying me a cup of tea or helping cover the cost of the biscuits. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for keeping this kitchen conversation going.